Hi everyone, I'm Rich, and welcome back to Mission 1820 and our new weekly series, Verses to Live By. In this series, we're slowing down and we're just taking a careful examination of some individual verses of Scripture. We're looking at what they teach us about living as followers of Christ. So this is week 2 of the series, and today we're looking at Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. Now, this is a verse that I think speaks directly to the way that we think, the way we act, as well as the way we treat other people. So let's start out by reading this verse together. It says, "Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than themselves." This is one of those verses that sounds simple enough until we actually try to live it out. The book of Philippians is a letter that was written by the Apostle Paul while he was under house arrest in Rome. Now, despite his imprisonment, Paul's letter emphasizes joy, unity, as well as humility. Chapter 2 focuses on unity within the church because Paul understood that division often comes not from doctrine, but from attitudes, especially pride, rivalry, as well as self-centeredness. Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 sets the tone for this entire chapter, and it leads directly into Paul's teaching on the humility of Christ that's going to be in verses 5 through 11. And those verses that are surrounding this one, Paul's urging believers to walk in unity, in humility, as well as in love. He's preparing them to understand the mindset of Christ himself, who is the ultimate example of humility. So let's break this verse down. The first line says, "Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit." We all know that selfish ambition is when our own actions are driven by the desire to advance ourselves, whether that's our image, our comfort, or could be our status. However, conceit is empty pride, it's empty glory. It's a distorted view of one's importance. It is pride without substance because it's focused on recognition rather than service. See, Paul's addressing not just our actions, but he's addressing our motives. The Christian life is not only about what we do, but it's more about how we do it. Paul lets nothing be done from these motives. Now, he's saying not some things, not most things, but nothing. And that's a pretty high calling for us because it focuses us to ask, why am I doing what am I doing? Is it to be seen? Am I wanting to be praised? See, this line invites us to examine the motives behind our actions and not just the actions themselves. Now, the verse continues by saying, "But in lowliness of mind." Now understand, this phrase doesn't mean that we think poorly of ourselves. Lowliness of mind describes genuine humility. This doesn't mean that there's self-hatred or that we deny one's gifts. Biblical humility is having that proper understanding of who we are before God. See, it recognizes that our abilities, that our opportunities, and our successes are all gifts from Him. Now, the verse concludes with, "Let each esteem others better than himself." This is the part that challenges most of us. See, Paul isn't saying others are better than us in worth or in dignity, but the believers need to choose to value others above themselves in practice. So what he's saying is this: we are to treat others if they matter more than us. See, this kind of attitude is going to require intentionality on our part, and it's going to reflect the mindset of Christ, who willingly laid aside his rights for the sake of others. Give them priority. Value the other person's needs. Honor their perspective, but mostly serve them. Imagine how different our homes, our workplaces, and our churches would be if we lived this way. This verse calls us to shift from a mindset of competition to a mindset of compassion. As challenging as this verse is, how do we live it out? I think a few practical ways for us to apply Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 is we need to pause before we react. We need to ask ourselves, am I responding out of pride or humility? I think we need to listen more than we speak. Humility gives others the space to be heard. And I think we need to serve quietly while doing good without needing or looking for credit. See, true humility is something that God forms in us. And these small choices are going to shape a life that reflects Christ. And the more that we practice humility, the more we're going to become like Jesus. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Verses to Live By. If you found this encouraging, share it with someone that you think might need a reminder of the power of humility. So until next week, God bless, and thanks for watching.